Oh, thank goodness. Lawn service is here. Thank goodness. I was texting them and messaging them, and next thing you know, they were right there. Oh my gosh. They're not far away from here. By the time I sent that message in the carport, then I stopped and decided to send an email. They're already pulling up. So somebody must have seen that. Like, did you get over there? A little backstory about the lawn service, the business. It's a family business, and my daughter went to school with a couple children in the family. We met at a bus stop, and and my daughter and the son were in the same grade, and the young man had an older sibling who was a girl. So I would get all my daughter's clothes, even though she was younger than the little girl, and so she would get the clothes, and that's how we met. Every winter, I would just go over there, and you could tell the next day she would have those clothes on, and I actually all right, let this train just go ahead. So anyway, I actually forgot about that, how we met. So anyway, I learned that the family had a lawn service, so I would have them come over my house, and eventually they started going over to the church. They started getting all kind of other business, and this family, it's a Latino family. They started off with one truck with a bunch of lawnmowers. Next thing you know, they got a business, like a professional truck. And then the next thing you know, they had a fleet of trucks. They were in this tiny little house on this corner, and it was lots of family in there. And then the next thing you know, they got a house on this major street. They bought land that had one house, and then they built several houses on the property, and family is there, and they have a fleet of trucks, and the kids have gone to college. One being studying business. The other one, I believe, is an engineer. And these are two people that barely, their English was broken, and how they learned how to speak it was through their kids going to school, learning English, and coming back and speaking to the parents. So their English is still like not even like perfect, but it is such a success story, and it speaks to the United States of America. I mean, come on now. And so when they have all these different things that are going on in the world right now, I think of families like that. That's why, for the most part, I look at the news highlights just to get an idea, but I don't see how people can sit up and watch news story after news story after news story. I'm not going to say that I'm checked out, but I really am mindful of how much news I watch. I spent this morning sitting and reflecting and doing some video content, doing a lot of editing, a little bit of prayer, a little bit of meditation, like the basic prayers I do. I didn't spend as much time in the Bible today as I normally did. I did my key Bible scriptures and my quotes, and I did some journaling, and I did some editing so I could listen to things Is this a funeral? I just want to make sure that the funeral, you know, some people, there's a funeral going by and you kind of have respect for that, but some people are just so disrespectful. Yeah, but anyway, that's what I did most of this morning, and I did the video about when I had this experience in a meeting, and I just was listening to it, I edited it, and I just kind of, when I edited it, I didn't keep it completely like raw, but I just wanted to show how that experience at that toxic job impact me. I'm not going to really get into that. You can go back and look at that video. But sometimes, here's what the point I'm saying. I do audio diaries and then I look back at it to truth tell. And then I took the video and I edited it down to just that portion where I was talking about the impact. I'm not sure if I don't know if I'm gonna publish that one. I may unlist that one. But what my takeaway from looking at the audio diaries and the journaling is, I have very little tolerance for like foolishness anymore. Zero. I'm in my 60s. This is, like my mom told me, like, this is your joy season. This is your joy season. I'm like, I own that. Just stop. Sometimes I don't know what I'm trying to say. Maybe it's because this is the first time I've had some free time to even think or entertain other interests. I literally sat up in my room. I was in my room the whole morning and part of the afternoon. I'm just leaving out of there. And it's not from depression or anything. There's this French influencer, and he was talking about, you know, why women don't marry and stuff like that. And
for so long they don't date anymore. They grant you access to their peaceful little empire like a reluctant queen.
Step skincare thing, or they just enjoy not sharing their fries.
Silence of my personal gross journey. You think you're gonna be her boyfriend? Oh, she's sleeping diagonally in her bed for 3 years. She's not giving up that territory because you opened the door and paid for a coffee. Her vibe is
if you cause even 0.0000000.1% of stress, they're gonna like drop you like a bad habit. So.
My apartment, do a 12-step skincare routine, order sushi, and not have to listen to a man breathe. Romantic surprises, risky. You show up unannounced with flowers, cool. She already scheduled her evening. 2-hour bubble bath, wine, rewatching Pride and Prejudice for emotional stability. You're not part of the itinerary, Jonathan. You try to check in emotionally. How are you feeling? She's feeling fantastic because you're not here. When she says, I need space, she doesn't mean I am upset. She means she wants to lay face down on her bed for 3 hours without explaining it to anyone. You're not competing with other guys. There are no other guys. You're competing with her weighted blanket, her peace, her cat named Chairman Meow, and the simple joy of not having to share her fries. And the second you cause even 0.0001% stress, gone. Vanished. Back to her solo adventures and 8700 therapy newsletters. Are you okay? Yes, she's thriving. She just booked a solo trip to Iceland while you were still composing your Good Morning Beautiful text. Dating a girl who is used to being alone is not romance, it's extreme sport for your self-esteem.
Anywho, everyone, I'm about to go into this PopShelf and see if I can find some gift bags. Just left out of PopShelf. This is full of gift wrap tissue paper. So it's not like a huge haul, everyone. The only thing I got was the tissue paper. I got a bunch of gift bags. Here's some of them. Of cards. I saw these Dolly Parton oven mitts. Just coming up on the side. What? Get out of here. You need to not be doing this in this state. People carry around this area. Oh, they have some things up here. A Juneteenth Freedom Day event. I tell you, anything for capitalism. Juneteenth is a big day in like Texas. Just a little bit of lighting. So the last day on the toxic job was like the 1st of August, and I got the thing from the Board of Labor, saying, reflecting that. And then so I got all my paychecks and stuff, and then I got my last paycheck was the 15th of September. Well, in the middle of that, the school system, this is how karma is. The school system was having trouble with payroll. Matter of fact, in June, I actually didn't get my paycheck in June. Thank goodness I had recently had some corporate bonds that came into maturity, or else I would have really been freaking out like all those other people showing up there ready to. So anyway, let me get back to, they were in the middle of having all kind of payroll issues at that school system job. They were not getting paid. What happened to me is they paid that whole paycheck in September the 15th. So I kept saying, I reached out to them like, hey, last paycheck, and, I had a representative call me, because by this time I was being handled with white gloves, and they're like, you shouldn't have got that. I said, well, actually, I should have gotten a paycheck on September the 15th, but I don't have any control over that. I said, so send me an email. This is what I said. Send me an email and tell me how much, if any, money that I need to send with you, and I will get a cashier check. And you all know I will send it by Federal Express. But what I want you to do is I want you to send me an email. When I tell you, they're like, that's okay. They changed my last day to the 15th of September so they wouldn't have to admit they made a mistake. So I was only expecting maybe half of my regular paycheck on the 15th of September. I got the whole paycheck. So what they did was they paid what that made happen. Well, first of all, God is good, because I did tell them, look, you want the money back? You email me and tell me how much you want back. And they're like, no. And next thing you know, I get a thing from the Department of Labor, and they switch my last day to the 15th of September. I don't know what that person did, but they had the power to change that. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I consider that severance. I consider that money for the the trouble that I went through, okay? So yeah, that's what happened with that. And as a result, they paid my health insurance for October, and so I got my health insurance through the end of October, and by that time I had already went to my public health job and signed up for special circumstances where I got insurance for that next month, and then I went on to the insurance from when I worked for the health department. In the middle of that, it's like they never canceled me. And then I kept reaching out to them saying, hey, when am I going to get something saying I'm canceled? Because so the next thing you know, the state office, they called me and they're like, we're calling you on a recorded line. We're going to send you a bill for this to pay this premium, but if you want to cancel it. So it was a recording. And I was like, can you email me that? And they're like, no, we can't email it. And I'm like, why can't you email it to me? This lady she's like, Miss Danielle, please, is it okay? And I'm like, yes, okay. I said, can I have a confirmation number at least? I said, because this is really making me nervous. Okay. So, yeah, that was the story with the health insurance and everything. It was crazy, but it was a course of events, and I know that God orders my footsteps and everything, and He's looking out for me. That's a good note to end on.
Head over heels for that someone. Head for the hills for nothing. Running, scared, screaming at the top of my lungs. In my many minds, my heart doesn't always agree. What I'm thinking inside. Think about it, your gut can lie. And when you're hungry but it hurts to eat, do you actually wanna die? No matter how bad